We are in part 2 of my Iceland Blue Lagoon painting, and I'm just blending out the sky here, trying to get all of that area covered, and then shortly some of the water is going to already appear. I've already painted it on. I don't know where that footage went, honestly. My camera kind of starts recording at random times, stops recording, I mean. So I'm just blending out the sky with the same colors that you saw in part 1. So be sure to watch that first if you'd like to see how I started off my palette, because I'm just going to be building on all of that here. And also, I just want to apologize for my voice. It's probably going to die a few times because I've been sick the last couple weeks. I'm actually really happy that I'm able to record these today, because I've been, like, my voice has just sounded terrible. And it's still not back to 100%, but it's better than what it was. So hopefully that will stay. And I can't breathe through my nose at all. Like, it's terrible. So yeah, just blending out the sky. I'm going to speed this up here, and then we'll go right into the water. So to skip forward here, because my camera decided to die and I lost some footage, unfortunately, but I've already painted on some of the water, and you can see my palette and what that looks like. And I just picked up some of that very light blue, almost purplish color. It's not fully titanium white, but it has a lot of it in there, and I'm just placing that color in the varying parts where I see it, sort of blending it softly with some of the slightly darker blues. And there's some gradients in that water, so I'm just trying to recreate what I'm seeing to the best of my ability. Not so much to make it like an exact replica, but just to more of an expression of what I'm seeing, not so much a copy. And yeah, and then I added a little bit more white, titanium white, to that, and I'm just placing in some lighter parts. And picked up some more titanium white to some of the brighter highlight areas of the water. And you can see the figure looks a little better. I added some more shape and dimension and detail, although it still looks quite wonky. It still needs quite a bit of work. So I'm just continuing to place some of that lightest color in different parts of the painting. At least the lightest parts where I see it, where the sun is kind of reflecting, or the brightest parts of the sky are reflecting. And there are going to be some of the warmer tones in there as well. It's going to have some of that orange, soft, pale orange color. But at the moment, I'm just focusing on the cooler tones, and then I will blend them in gradually. So I just continue to bring in some titanium white, and I'm picking up Gamsol on my brush and placing it onto my palette ever so slightly. You always want to use the medium sparingly. I never want to dilute the paint to the watercolor consistency. I usually reserve that for layer 1, and the consecutive layers are thicker. So then I brought in a slightly more purple color in my palette. It was already there, but I just placed my brush into it, and I'm just kind of blending it out with that like side to side motion. I'm going to leave all of this water in real time, at least the early part, so you can just sort of see how I do it. It's kind of boring to me, at least, to watch it back. It's interesting to see after some time, after you've already painted it, but in real time, because I sat there like struggling, you know, when what you're seeing now is me just trying to figure out the basic colors and where to place them and how to make these gradients look like water when it just looks like a bunch of blobs. So watching it back is like reliving that annoying part, even though it's still fun. And then I'm just kind of outlining the figure here, just trying to maintain that shape so that I don't place the blue paint over it. I had to refill my titanium white because I ran out of it. That tube is actually almost gone now. I really need to buy some more. So I brought that into that color again, and a little bit of my Gamsol Galcid mix. And I'm just continuing to build on those highlights. And my dog is itching himself, so I wonder if you can hear it. He's usually under my desk as I record these. And then I'm kind of bringing in some of those peachier tones a little bit, and you can see just blending those out. The left side of the water, or of the figure, I guess, has way more of those peachy tones versus the right side, and I'm kind of dancing as I'm painting. Wow, that's embarrassing. Okay. Hey, this is real life, you know, this is what I do. It's not uncommon for me to do that. Yep, just painting and dancing. Wow. I forgot I did that. Like, okay, Lena, slow down. You're recording a Patreon video too. Maybe, like, not dance while you're painting. So then going into the blue again, the lighter blues, slightly lavender colors, I guess. And the reflections in the water are always cohesive to what's above the water. So if you see more blues on the left, then that's obviously going to be, you know, reflected in the water, like how the left of this painting in the sky has way more peachy tones, so that's obviously going to be more prevalent in the part of the water underneath it. So just blending out more of those colors further out into the painting. I'm kind of switching back and forth between the sky and the water as I see things, as I see a color that needs to be built on. I guess this part is pretty self-explanatory, and it's kind of boring too looking back on it because it's just the same back or side to side little brushstroke motion and just this vast area of paint. There's large parts of I guess one tone in this painting, or a tone that's doesn't really change all that much, because the water, this was taken in the water versus like outside of water, so like you can, the water kind of, as it gets closer to, the ripples get larger and larger, and then there's going to be larger areas of color that just like looks like one big color. So the whole bottom part of the painting is just going to be this darker blue, and then the sky, of course, also just very simple basic gradients, but I like that. I think the painting's gonna look simple in the end, but I like it. So I'm bringing in some more ultramarine blue, and I think I brought in a little bit of phthalo blue as well, which is a transparent blue. Ultramarine blue is more opaque, and because the ultramarine blue is not quite as bright and vivid as what I needed it to be for this piece, so we're just going to go into some of the darker tones of the water now. It looks like there's a little bit of green in there as well. Sadly, my palette was off screen, but basically I just gauge based on the painting and what I'm seeing. So more ultramarine blue in there, just this very dark shadow color, kind of mixing it with the tones underneath, because I feel like I placed that color into the highlight colors on my palette, but that's okay because they all kind of intertwine. So and then this color is called Cobalt Teal, and it's one of my favorite colors from Gamblin. It's so gorgeous, and it also adds like some brightness to it as well, makes it way more vivid. So I just picked that up and add it to my colors just ever so slightly. And this color is just the part underneath the figure, the distorted figure reflection, which is pretty much the darkest part of the water, the reflective water at least. The area surrounding it gets a bit dark, but I feel like this one is just a bit darker. I'm kind of adjusting my palette here and picking up some paint tubes underneath. Also, my palette is balanced on my laptop, so sometimes the screen fades and I have to pick up my palette to look at it. So I'm just placing that color down underneath the figure with some of my medium, just a little bit, not too much, because if you add too much medium it makes it a bit hard to work with and it makes it way too transparent, and we're not going for that. And you can see me looking back and forth. Sorry, my voice is kind of crapping out on me right now. I probably sound so much more laid back and low energy than my other videos right now because, again, I'm just kind of not 100%, and I took cough medicine and all this other stuff to feel better. So that's probably why I'm loopy and not all there. Picking up more of that color and just building on that figure reflection shadow in the water. And all the shapes kind of fit together like a puzzle, and I'm just trying to piece that together in with the lighter tones that I placed down based on what I'm seeing, which is again just an expression of that, not so much an exact replica or copy. I don't want it to be. I think I lose the fun in it when I'm too precise, although my brain wants to do that. I brought in some more cobalt teal just to brighten that area a little bit, and there is some varying gradients in that shadow color, so there you go. It was very simple, not a whole lot to it. I just kind of filled in those shapes. We can skip forward here and bringing more medium into that color and just building on that a little bit. And I dipped it into the lighter titanium white that was next to it, and I'm just kind of adding some lighter parts to that as well. It looks like I'm done with the dance party for now. Sometimes I put my hands on the canvas and erase things with my finger. I don't know. It's just like an impulsive in the moment kind of thing. My shoulder was blocking the way, but just blending that out. And then I brought in that color into the light color, the highlight color I made with a little bit of dioxazine purple. And we're going into some of the shapes surrounding that dark shadow reflection. Just building on some of those gradients and try to make those shapes look more like water. Just erasing it with my hand or blending it. I'm not quite sure what I'm doing there. In my time lapses, it all looks so quick, but you can see the hesitation in my brush strokes, and I pause and wait. Then I'm bringing it up to that horizon line there, which isn't so much a horizon line. There's some reflection underneath the building parts. And then I'm building on that little gradient there. It fades from like a bluish to purple. So you can see I've extended it out into the left side, which gets darker. Since a lot of these shapes are more horizontal, they kind of all look long, elongated sideways, so that's why I'm using that side to side brush stroke motion. And that color has a lot of ultramarine blue in it. It's a lot darker, and I'm just gonna connect it and blend it with some of the lighter purple parts. That little section there, more to the left, looks a little bit more gray, so I will fix that. But in the meantime, I'm just trying to cover that surface area, and then bringing that blue color into some of the parts where I see it. So some time has gone by, and now it's time to clean my palette and the colors I used before proceeding on and continuing with the painting. So I just use my glass scraper and I scrape away all the dried paint until it's clean, and then we can start fresh. So now I'm mixing some more of that dark color, the darkest part of the water, which contain ultramarine blue and a little bit of burnt umber just to grade out a bit. And yeah, sorry if you hear some lawn mowing going on in the background. People decided to start mowing lawns as I'm recording this. So inconveniently, my shoulder's blocking the way, but this is all just very boring. I'm just filling in that darker color, blending it into the rest of the water. So just a little close-up here, filmed on a different camera. This blue shows up a lot brighter with this camera. The settings are a little more saturated than my other one, to what I have it set to. But just a little close-up of me filling in some more of that area for the water. So now I'm going in with some of the lighter colors. Everything's just going to be blended out. Then I brought in some of that lightest blue, and again just that same side to side brush motion, just blending it out. Hopefully you can see it better up close. And then I do the same thing as I did early on, same colors pretty much, just filling in those shapes. Thankfully I have the underpainting sort of as a guide, where the light parts are and the darker ones, the highlights and shadows, and of course the reference helps a bunch too, and moving my camera. So just putting it together like a puzzle. I'm going to go ahead and end the narration here. There's going to be a little bit more real-time painting for this piece, but thank you so much for watching, and I'll probably have a part 3 for this painting, finalizing the details and the final layers. We'll see if I'm going to do a part 3 and 4. I kind of just want to wrap it up with a part 3 though, so that should probably be for the next month. Thanks for watching!